So the full cast is assembled, and it's quite an impressive sight across that back straight start line. And if you're Ben Buckingham and hip number 16, you've got a long way to go to get into the plinth. And you can see he's put the elbow out just to get in, and he's tucked in nicely, moved to the front. A tactical move there. Lachlan Barber on the inside. Baisha is up there as well. Scott will trail at the back of the field. He's happy to keep out of the trouble. And they're underway safely. 16 men into one compact bunch.
And the unfortunate thing is that they did sprint to get there to their positions, but now they've really slowed this pace down. And once they do that, we just want to make sure that there's no fallers. You're just hoping that they stay on their feet. This is really slow. You can see Clark looking across, just waiting to see if anyone wants to take the lead, because it is so early in the season. A lot of them aren't thinking about times. They're just trying to find their feet and their race rhythm, and that's what they're doing. They're playing cat and mouse out there, but it gets a little bit dangerous, and you see a lot of wide movers.
And we see the first of the movers is the man in the Western Athletics top that has worked his way into the lead, Cody Shanahan, another of the graduates of the De Castella 3,000 metres, as we see moving out and clear. I think it's Jordan McLennan of the Queenslander.
Yep.
Ramsden now working his way to the front, just keeping an eye on things. There'd be the confidence within him that he'll be able to move wherever this field goes and to run them down, but he just wants to make sure he keeps out of trouble.
Exactly, and that's what we want to see. No fallers, just some good, honest, hard racing. We've got Nick down there. What does it look like, Nick, down there at track level?
Well, Tams, look, I know we've got our leader there, but in second and third, you got Ramsden. We saw what he did at Nitro just sort of 24 months ago. He's just come back from Falls Creek. Just behind him is the Victorian local. He's been the biggest improver over the last 24 months, and that is Matt Clark. So we've got a bit of the interstate talent here, followed by Ramsden, who's absolute national standard talent, and Matt Clark, who I tell you what, there's going to be a lot of athletes here scared in the field about here, Tamsin.
Oh, and we see a faller there as Luke Shaw's just gone down because of that tempo, and he's going to have to pull off, unfortunately. But McLennan's done a great job here to up the tempo, and you can see that Matt Ramsden's happy about this pace. It obviously suits his long, striding, free-flowing technique a lot better, and he's just pushing to the lead now.
You talk about free-flowing, just the way that Ramsden glides forward, he just looks so effortless as he makes his way forward. Chamberlain on his inside has been training with Luke Matthews recently, so you wonder if some of that competitive juices between Luke and Matthew, they would have competed before. Ben Chamberlain might have picked up a couple of tips as well, but it's going to be Ramsden that leads them into the home straight. Forthorpe is there, a wily veteran of the racing scene, a great tactician, will be one to watch in the last lap, and Clark is moving forward for Old Tavarians, and Buckingham, we saw him had to move all the way from post 16 all the way in, and he's still going.
And Clark has done an interesting thing then. He actually got himself into an okay position but moved straight onto the rail, but luckily he's got himself through. Now what Ramsden's doing here in racing is fantastic, because he's setting himself up to get beaten, because he's a great athlete and he's obviously doing some hard training, but it's fantastic to see him out racing. Nick, what does it look like down there?
I'll tell you what, you got Ramsden at the front. He's the athlete that's at all the class. Clark in second. You've got the Ringwood athlete in fourth, or having a crack. Chamberlain. Also back to the steeplechaser there, which is the St Stephen's athlete. And back to a group of athletes, including Muir from Scotland. But Ramsden with 150 to go. He gave Usain Bolt a high five as he went past here about 24 months ago, Tamsin. Will he hold off Forthorpe?
Well, will he hold off Forthorpe is the question. Matthew Ramsden leads Forthorpe, trying to come back at him. The class mover from Western Australia is a little bit too classy for this 1,500 metre field, and he'll take the win. Forthorpe in a second. Clark, a gallant performance to take third, and Scott, who was at the back of the field when they started, has finished in fourth place in this 1,500 metres.
Beautiful. That was just absolutely poetry in motion to watch. I love watching Matty Ramsden run, because he's just got an absolutely textbook technique, and it's just lovely when he opens up. Here you can see, even though he would be in heavy training, he's able to rely on that leg stride and the cadence of just turning them over. He's holding his arms nicely. He looks nice and relaxed, even though he's probably got a heap of lactic acid running through his body, but he stays tall and he's running off the ground really well, which is not easy to do at the back end of a 1,500, especially when you're not race hardened. Great job.
And he just bided his time to perfection and worked his way into the position he needed to be. He stayed out of trouble, most importantly, which